ever since Donald Trump's Mar-a-Lago residence was raided by the FBI, there has just been this endless line of excuses from him, or endless lines of possible reasons why he's not in the wrong, even though it might appear that way. And so it seems like each time a new detail comes out, whether it's because the warrant got unsealed or further reporting into it, he has another reason that might contradict with a past reason he's given about why this isn't an example of criminality. And so Joe Scarborough, who's not somebody that I cover often on this show and not someone I watch myself very often, but I saw this clip where he kind of points that out and does a really funny, I think he's reading from someone else's writing actually, but he's going through and just one after another lining up all of the different kind of reasons that Donald Trump has given over the last week or so about why he's not in the wrong. And when you hear it all back to back, it just highlights how absurd it is and how absurd it is that anyone would believe this. So here that is.
President Trump is offering a new line of defense for taking top secret government documents to his Mar-a-Lago home in Florida, a club.
But by the way, it's about his 12th excuse.
There've been they
keep coming up with excuses. I mean, somebody put it very, very succinctly. I didn't take the documents.
Yeah.
But if I did take the documents, they weren't classified. And if they were classified, then they were planted. And if they weren't, I declassified them. And if I didn't, then it's a hoax. And if it's not a hoax, Obama did it. He keeps changing. He keeps going through the lies. You know, first he said that he was working and cooperating with government agents. Then, when we found out the truth about that, he said the agents planted it. Finally, he started lying, and you're going to talk about this in a second, saying that he had declassified them. And then Sunday, on the Sunday shows, after all of these different stories didn't line up, after all of the lies that he had thrown out there and all of the you-know-what thrown against the wall didn't line up, then he had former aides go on TV and start a new round of lies. One saying, well, he was in a rush. He was just, he was...
Right. So we'll stop it there. But it is just so absurd, especially when you put it in kind of the phrasing that Joe Scarborough did there, which is all of these different reasons by themselves could make some coherent sense, but right next to each other, they can't. Because, and many, many people have pointed this out on Twitter and beyond, in kind of similar little paragraphs of, okay, so if there are boxes there, they were planted by the FBI, if they're classified documents, but if they weren't planted by the FBI, they actually aren't classified because I'm not able to declassify them. And if they are classified, then also I just might have accidentally taken them back with me from the White House. And I don't know how people keep up with this. I don't even know how someone who is on the far right or is a MAGA person and wants to believe Trump's story keeps up with what the story's supposed to be that they believe in, if that makes sense. Because I think one of the things you have to do is convince yourself into believing whatever the line, whatever the talking point is, that your side, if you really want to, if you're real partisan, you want to stick on a side or stick with a person, is telling. So you grab a hold of that and you don't let go. But if they keep chucking different things at you, how are you supposed to know what you're even supposed to be holding on to? And I think that's almost part of the strategy, though. It's this similar tactic that is used by conspiracy theorists, which is what this is, which is you just say a bunch of things, you make up a bunch of lies, you chuck a bunch of theories, you ask a bunch of questions. And so then your audience, even if they hear some other source fact check or debunk one of the parts of your theory that you laid out or one of the questions that you asked or whatever, then in their mind, they can turn the wheel and go, okay, that one's out, but they haven't addressed this one or this one or this one. And some of you might remember I did a debate with a Trump supporter recently. And one of the things I said to him kind of mid-debate was, hold up, I need you to stop for a second and recognize, and this is something I see a lot when I have conversations with conspiracy theorists, is you're throwing a million different things and you won't let me address one of them. And the reason I had to call that out is because otherwise it's like, well, what about this? What about this? What about this? What about this? What? And you can't just get down to the root of one of them whenever things are being thrown out at a million miles an hour. And so that was correct in the context of that conversation, but then also in so many other contexts, it's, accurate to realize that as well. When you see someone who doesn't want to aggressively advocate for one position that they're standing for and one reason why they're in the correct position, and instead it's this big landslide, a tsunami of theories they have about why this might be corrupt or why this might be a situation where they're on the wrong or all these things, then the perfect way or the perfect thing for their audience to do is anytime they hear someone like Joe Scarborough, any mainstream media person, me, whatever, debunk one of their points, their brain can go, okay, well, maybe that one isn't necessarily true, but I can hop over to the next idea that they threw at me. And it's kind of this, unfalsifiable type strategy of conspiracy theories. And so I do wish that people would get tuned into that as conservatives or as Trump supporters and recognize, even if you liked Trump's policies before, even if you supported him before, he's definitely lying somewhere, because all of the different reasons he's given can't all go at once. There's not a true answer clearly. There's just a bunch of kind of pie in the sky theories that Trump has for why he's not in the wrong and why this is all corrupt. And it really is insane, because on one side you hear people advocating that Trump can, declassify any documents that he wants. And then on the other side, but the documents that are there are being planted. Anything that's wrong is being planted. And then also, he might have just accidentally, a staff member, taken a classified document, and it's just a big tornado of ideas with no coherent reasoning to it. So watch out for that in many of these types of situations, because you'll definitely recognize it a lot. Just 1,000 questions being thrown at you, or 1,000 theories, so that you can't debunk all of them, because it just would be within the context of time impossible for you to get to every single one, and therefore it leaves some option to whoever wants to believe these things to still grab onto something that hasn't been obviously debunked. So with all that being said, great job by Joe Scarborough, and we will continue to watch this massive story as it develops.